What if you were compelled to marry someone you had never even met, someone from an entirely different world? Victor finds himself in an arranged marriage. He is the son of the Vandalt family, a lineage of fish merchants who have recently acquired wealth and drawn the attention of the prestigious Everglot family. Despite receiving a substantial share of the inheritance, the Everglots have fallen into financial ruin. Their solution to regain stability is to marry off their daughter, Victoria, to the Vandalt family. The marriage is arranged, and both parties are preparing for the wedding rehearsal. However, Victor and Victoria are filled with apprehension about marrying someone they have never laid eyes on. They wonder what might happen if they don't find each other to their liking. Sadly, their parents view this union purely as a business transaction. As they gather at the opulent Everglot mansion for the rehearsal, Victor's attention is captivated by an unattended piano in the lounge. Unable to resist his favorite instrument, he begins playing it. The enchanting music reaches Victoria's ears, and she rushes downstairs to discover the source of such delightful notes. Victor is left bewildered and struggles to speak. However, Victoria, being mature beyond her years, comprehends the young man's predicament. She had always hoped to marry someone she would deeply love, but fate seems to have other plans. Victor offers an apology for touching the piano without permission, clearly embarrassed. In his fluster, he accidentally knocks over a flower vase. Victoria, undisturbed by the mishap, presents the flower to Victor as a keepsake of their initial encounter. Their moment is interrupted by her mother, who calls them to proceed with the rehearsal. 3 hours pass, and Victor still can't find his voice, much less his balance. The priest becomes increasingly irate and inquires if Victor has at least brought the wedding ring. Victor retrieves the ring but fumbles, causing it to slip under Mrs. Everglot's dress. In his attempt to retrieve it, Victor accidentally ignites a candle, sending everyone into a panic. The priest admonishes Victor to quickly commit the vows to memory, as the wedding is scheduled for the following day. Victor retreats to the forest to rehearse, but he repeatedly stumbles over the vows. Unwittingly, he wanders into a forbidden area filled with eerie branches and peculiar trees, which he imagines as wedding guests. In frustration, he places the ring on one of the branches, as if it were a bride's finger. The branch he thought was part of a tree turns out to be someone's real hand, grabbing him and pulling him downward. Panic-stricken, Victor manages to break free and staggers backward. The earth cracks open beneath the oak tree, and a female ghost emerges. Victor is overwhelmed with fear and sprints towards the town. The relentless ghost pursues him effortlessly. Victor stumbles repeatedly but refuses to give up. Finally, he reaches a bridge, but so does the ghost. Overcome by exhaustion, he falls unconscious. When Victor awakens, he finds himself in a completely different world. Everyone around him is deceased and decomposing, some even reduced to skeletons. He retreats to a corner, bewildered, and demands an explanation. The ghost, now identified as the corpse bride and named Emily, shares her tragic tale. She was once a young woman of unmatched beauty who met the man of her dreams. However, her parents vehemently opposed their relationship. Undeterred, she decided to elope with her lover, wearing her mother's wedding dress and carrying valuable family jewels. She waited for hours under the oak tree at their designated meeting spot, but her lover never arrived. Suddenly, he appeared and cruelly stabbed her before fleeing with the jewels, callously toying with her feelings for the sake of money. Unable to accept her tragic fate, Emily resolved to wait beneath the oak tree until she found someone who would accept her without greed. When Victor recited his vows under the tree, Emily mistakenly believed they were meant for her, and she considered herself married to him. Victor struggles to process this information and flees as far as he can. He even attempts to climb the bridge, hoping it will lead him back to the real world. But his efforts prove futile. Emily introduces herself as Emily and presents Victor with a wedding gift that initially appears to be a pile of bones. However, Victor soon recognizes his late dog, Scraps, among the bones. Overjoyed to be reunited with his beloved pet, Victor hatches an idea. His mother had never approved of him having a dog, and this thought sparks a brilliant plan. He deceives Emily by promising to reunite her with her parents. The innocent bride eagerly agrees, and they seek out the elder Goodnecht, a knowledgeable skeleton. Goodnecht searches his library and locates the right book, containing a special spell that can help ghosts travel. Using a crow's egg, he cracks it on the couple, transporting them to the real world beneath the same oak tree. Victor pleads with Emily for some time to convince his parents and rushes to the town. Rumors swirl about Victor abandoning his wedding for another woman, and the Everglots anticipate retribution. Victor climbs to Victoria's room and confesses his love. Initially unready for the marriage, he had fallen in love with Victoria at first sight, and now wishes to spend his life with her. Victoria reciprocates his feelings, and they are about to seal their love with a kiss when Emily intervenes. Identifying herself as Victor's wife, Emily whisks him away immediately. They return to the world of the dead, and Emily accuses Victor of deceiving her for another woman. Victor, in turn, refers to Emily as the other woman who ruined his wedding with Victoria. Heartbroken, Emily flees in grief, realizing the insurmountable divide between herself and a living man. She acknowledges that Victoria is the better choice for Victor. While Victoria confides in her parents and seeks their help, the Everglots become deeply concerned and lock her in a room, convinced that she has lost her sanity. As the wedding guests are all invited and there's no sign of the groom, Lord Marcus seizes the opportunity and proposes to marry Victoria. The greedy Everglots readily agree, and preparations for the wedding commence. Back in the world of the dead, Victor feels remorseful for Emily and sits down beside her for a heartfelt conversation. They share a moment playing the piano together, and Victor apologizes for his actions. He acknowledges Emily as an exceptional person who deserves the best, though he may not be that person. Surprisingly, another dead person arrives, none other than Mrs. Vandor's servant, Mayhew. Victor is thrilled to see him and inquires about the well-being of everyone. Victor's parents are frantically searching for him, but the most shocking news is that Victoria is set to marry Lord Marcus. Heartbroken, Victor assumes that Victoria has deceived him. Meanwhile, Elder Gutnick informs Emily that she is not officially Victor's wife yet. The vows they exchanged were intended to bind them till death do them part, and since Emily is already deceased, they are technically separated. The only way to reunite them is by killing Victor. He must return to the living world during the old age twine, which will act as poison. Emily is hesitant to ask such a significant sacrifice of Victor, but she is unaware that he has overheard their conversation. He is willing to give his life for her, especially after losing trust in the living world and preferring to be someone else's source of happiness. The following morning, Victoria is married off to Lord Barkis, while Victor prepares for the impending ceremony. She invites all the dead to join them on their journey to the real world and witness their unique wedding. The deceased individuals, despite their eerie appearances, prove to be kind-hearted, even preparing a lovingly crafted wedding cake, dressing up the bride and groom, and singing joyful wedding songs. At the Everglots banquet, there is an eerie silence, and the attendees, despite being alive, remain emotionally lifeless, their hearts devoid of feeling. In essence, they are still dead inside. Lord Barkis is presented with a wedding toast just as the dead people make their entrance. The living guests flee in terror as the ghosts wander the town, and the townsfolk cry out for their lives. However, a little boy approaches a skeleton, recognizing it as his grandparent. Soon, others begin recognizing their late loved ones, filling them with immense joy at their return. After an emotional reunion, the dead people make their way to the church for the wedding. Emily walks down the aisle like a princess and stands before her true love. Victor recites his vows and holds up the wine glass, and Emily pours the poison wine into it. Emily suddenly notices Victoria watching them with the same heartache she once felt. The pain of having her dreams stolen away stops Victor from drinking the poison wine. Emily, who herself knows the anguish of being forsaken, cannot bear to inflict the same pain on another bride. She calls Victoria over and gives her to Victor, recognizing the shared pain in both their eyes. However, their beautiful moment is interrupted by the arrival of Lord Barkis. He married Victoria solely for her wealth, and his greed knows no bounds. His gaze falls upon Emily, and he immediately recognizes her. Lord Barkis is the very same selfish man who deceived Emily and callously ended her life along with her innocent dreams. The deceased gather, ready to exact revenge. To protect himself, Lord Barkis clutches Victoria and threatens to harm her. Victor implores him to let her go, but Barkis remains callous. Fortunately, Scraps bites Lord Barkis' leg, allowing Victoria to break free. Victor seizes a large fork and engages in a desperate fight with Lord Barkis, but he is outmatched by Barkis' massive sword, and his fork is thrown aside. In one swift motion, Lord Barkis prepares to deliver a fatal blow to Victoria. However, Emily steps in his path. She says little but asks Barkis to leave. Barkis, still as heartless and unfeeling as ever, lifts the poison wine glass and offers a toast to Emily, taunting her for never being able to marry. He calls her worthless and rejected, gloating in his cruelty. Barkis drinks the poisoned wine, and within moments, his heart stops, causing him to die on the spot. Yet, this punishment hardly seems sufficient for his heinous deeds. The dead gather their weapons, ready to give the newly arrived soul the welcome he deserves. Finally, Victor can marry Victoria, but he worries about Thomas, who had made a promise to Emily. The corpse bride smiles at him and reassures him that the promise has already been fulfilled. Victor vowed to lift away all of Emily's sorrows, and he did so. Her murderer has been punished, and her soul can now find peace. With these words, Emily walks toward the church door, gazing up at the radiant moon. Her body begins to disintegrate into a multitude of tiny butterflies that ascend into the sky. She has been set free, now destined for a far better world. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more interesting movies.